Cool.
All right, Amy, kick it off with an intro.
All right. Well, this is my first obligatory I am no longer with IntelliMagic post, or not post. Gosh, I'm not awake. I'm off work today technically, so my brain is just not working. So I have officially kicked off a role with Fortinet, not the game, not Fortnite, Fortinet. So I'm entering the dark world of cybersecurity and hackers. So I'm super stoked about that. And I'll be starting that on Monday. So today is kind of like my vacay day. And just a little history on myself. I've kind of run the full gamut of sales. I've been an SDR inside sales. I've done B2C stuff, B2B stuff, and I've sold all the way up to the enterprise level. And I'm actually going to be going back down into the SMB space. So I'm super stoked about that. And I'm hoping to apply what I've learned with enterprise sales in that realm. And we'll see how it goes.
Awesome. Justin, I don't think you need an introduction, but
there's like a cool echo. Thinking of a scene in Star Wars. I'm Justin Michael. I'm currently a regional vice president for a company called UAPI, which is an Israeli retargeting company for mobile and apps. So if you put a hamburger in Postmates or a veggie burger and you step away from the app, our technology helps to find you and get you to go buy the hamburger. It's that simple. I've sold for 20 years, 13 years in SaaS. Ever since I joined up at Salesforce, I started to go into the ISV, companies like Swerve, Tune, Kachava, just done a heck of a lot in advertising technology and marketing technology. And then I wrote a book about prospecting called Technology Quotient, which many of you I think have read or chimed in on. So I'm just really grateful to be here. I think helping people with their pitches is what it's all about. At all these different companies, I've done dry runs and I've had really smart leaders, and I've been able to take very critical feedback to heart and get better. So I hope we can do that for the community. Thank you.
Awesome. Lisa, it's your first time.
It is my first time. Thanks for having me. Brooklyn, I'm really looking forward to hearing what you share with us today. My background's maybe a little bit different. I started out as an IT practitioner, worked all the way up through a chief innovation officer role, which was a combination of a CIO and a CMO role. I also spent about 6 years managing an enterprise territory GO for Microsoft. I spent about 5 years running the western half of the United States for Gartner Executive Programs. So I think 740-ish all executive clients that were in a subscription-based renewal model. So lots of high touch with the sales teams to make sure those renewals happened, of course, as well as land and expand strategies. So that was a tremendous amount of fun. And right now I am in a go-to-market role for Teradata, really helping clients, particularly C-suite clients, learn how to leverage their data more effectively. So hoping I can bring some unique perspective to the table.
Oh, I'm sure you will. Patrick.
Yep, Patrick Downs here. And Amy, I really hate to do this and just like step on your announcement, but I actually did get a job working for Fortnite today. I've been practicing my dances, and yeah, I'm going to be selling V-Bucks for the foreseeable future. So I'm really pumped about that. But anyways, actually, I am the sales trainer at PandaDoc, and I'm excited to be here. I think a lot of you guys already know me.
Yeah, awesome, man. Tabitha.
Hey guys, I'm a VP of Talent Strategy over at Something New. So in other words, I'm a recruiter. And I actually come from SMB, like sales and marketing, and took a brief hiatus to have some colon cancer, and came back as a recruiter. So here I am back in the sales world, recruiting sales and marketing leaders for hypergrowth SaaS tech type companies, pretty industry agnostic. So excited to be here and help you out today, Brooklyn.
Awesome. All right, Brooklyn, we'll hand it over to you very quickly. I'm Francois Bourdeau. I, by day, sell Microsoft ERP and CRM solutions in kind of the mid-market, and been doing that for about 10 years, and I started in the help desk, man. I was a help desk nerd. So that's my story. But Brooklyn, who would you love to be your prospect? No pressure. I know Patrick is handsome and he's often selected.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be either Patrick or Lisa. It's up to you guys. To be honest, I'd probably prefer Lisa because I'm a marketer rather than a sales role, which means I should probably do Patrick. But
And
that was pretty smart. That was pretty smart.
Smart. I love that, Brooklyn. Go with it.
So maybe give. Did you pick
Patrick then?
Patrick?
Is that the one that makes you scared? Because do it.
Sure, yeah. Mostly because yeah.
This is a safe space, Brooklyn. This is a safe space.
Sure, yeah. Mostly because I'm sure I'll get feedback. Let's go for Patrick. Make it a little tough in marketing. Yeah, I can introduce myself too. So Brooklin Nash, I'm sure you guys know, I just started with Wizza back in January. So it's been a little under 6 months. And this is actually my first full-time role. Before that, I did marketing, consulting, and freelancing for 5 or 6 years. And I should be upfront, like I said, I'm not a sales rep. My title's head of content, but it's a team of 3 of us. So I'm essentially taking on all things marketing and customer engagement and retention and pretty much everything for now. So the reason I'm here is now that we have a foundation of content, I'm kind of turning my focus to start developing some more sales collateral. So I just really want some first-person feedback on kind of what our pitch looks like, on what the progression looks like, what kind of questions we get, just to prepare myself for the rest of this year as I dive into that kind of content specifically.
Perfect. All right. So Patrick is your victim?
Yeah. Okay. Do we want to jump in, Patrick?
Yeah. Can you call me Tawny?
Tawny? Is that your alter ego for today?
Yep, I'm Tawny today.
So Brooklyn, do you what's the typical, like, if you were actually talking to Patrick, have you like emailed him, or is this like a cold call? What's the typical scenario?
Yeah, it's either we've had some more and
We're having another Jonathan situation, I think.
Yeah, what's up? Can you hear me?
I think it's just Brooklyn having a connection issue.
Okay. Well, we'll just talk about him behind his back while he's gone.
Like what happens to all of us when it happens to us, right?
Right, yeah.
We can't even critique your pitch, Brooklyn. You didn't even get into it.
Was a terrible pitch.
Ever.
We can go to Wisa.co.
Yeah.
Freelancing for 5 or 6 years.
God, he's in fast forward.
I think everything's delayed. Brooklyn, can you hear us?
Oh boy.
Are you there?
I'm back. Yeah, is that better? Yeah, let me rejoin. I'm back. Is that better?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Sorry about that. I should say I'm also in Guatemala, so Wi-Fi is less than reliable. Sorry about that.
Oh,
wow. Francois, am I able to share my screen?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I might do that in a minute then, but Tawny, why don't we jump right into it? Why don't we jump into first what caused you to reach back out and want to set up a demo with Wizza today?
Man, that's a really good question. I have no idea. You tell me, Brooklyn. What do your notes say?
Yeah, that is a good question. Yeah, so when I reached out, we mentioned that we could accelerate your prospecting and especially finding lead emails when you're using LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So if you want, we can just jump into kind of the whole process and how it works, and then see if you have any questions from there. But first, since I kind of want to show how it would work for your team, I want to ask, what are you doing right now for prospecting?
Yeah, man. Thank you for jogging my memory. I'm sorry, I must have had temporary amnesia. Yeah, right now we're currently using Seamless AI to build lists through LinkedIn Sales Nav, and that's where we're getting a majority of our prospects. We also have like a tiered prospecting approach with a bunch of accounts that we generated from a screen we did on LinkedIn like 3 years ago. So we've sort of ordered those in the background and had some lead development reps put them into cadences and enrich the data. But the big accounts that we're going after are the ones that we're finding in Sales Nav.
Okay, and what kind of accounts and leads are you targeting?
Right now, the big thing for us is going to be SaaS companies between 11 to 200 employee size, probably people that are trying to streamline their workflow, but it's pretty generic.
So you don't have a specific role that you target?
Operations and sales leaders, but we can pretty much target anyone.
Okay, focusing on sales ops, but pretty much anybody too. Great. And for Seamless, how long have you been using Seamless?
About a year.
Okay, and how do the emails do for you? Do you run into a lot of bounces?
Yeah, a lot of bounces. That's my biggest issue, actually.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know. That's what we've heard from other customers that come in from Seamless. Okay, well, I mean, if you're up for it, I'd love to just walk you through how Wizza works and how it can work with your prospecting flow within Sales Nav. So let me just share my screen, if I can get it. 1 minute. Francois, are you able to enable that? Sorry. Hello?
Yeah, you should be
We
able
can
to.
hear you.
You
Yeah.
should be able to. I'm just double checking everything here. You should be.
Great. All right. Can you see my screen all right?
Yeah, I just saw Frank's beautiful face for a while.
Okay, so let's do, maybe I'll start with higher up, like Chief Revenue Officer. I mean, I don't need to walk you through how to use Sales Nav, I'm sure, but I just want to kind of show you how it would work. Do you reach out to companies in California?
We're global, so anywhere is fine with me. Just try to stay away from the Australians.
Okay, no Australians. I'll refrain from commenting on that.
Do your best.
11 to 200, so maybe we do 11 to 50 to start, try to do smaller. And within, you said SaaS, so maybe computer software, maybe marketing and advertising. Yeah, so you just build your searches the same way as you would with Sales Nav, since it is in Sales Nav. But then after you have installed Wizza it's just a Chrome extension that lives up here in the toolbar, you'll see these buttons on your Sales Nav screen. So if you want to export an entire list, so right now we just found 605 CROs in California with a company size of 11 to 50. So we can export up to 2,500 results at a time, because I believe that's how Sales Nav limits their search results. So once you have your search set, you just click Export Emails with Wizza, and it'll come up with a little Start a Scan pop-up. You can just title it whatever you want to keep track of it. We automatically click this, which is skipping leads that have already been discovered, so you don't end up with duplicates.
One second. So what is the scan? Because I'm used to just building a list straight up, like by clicking a button on Sales Nav, and that just shows me all the information.
Yeah, so this is essentially extends what you're able to find with Sales Nav. So a scan will start by pulling all the information off of the search page for those 605 leads. So you'll get their account, their title, their location, their LinkedIn URL, and all that. Once we pull that, then we scrape the web for publicly available emails. And then once we found the emails, then we verify them with another tool. and then it'll come back to you as a full list of leads, and then for the ones we're able to find emails for, the emails associated with them.
Gotcha. So you're just using sales nav as like a base point and then going
Yeah,
from
I
there.
mean, you don't want to reinvent the wheel. The sales nav is, I mean, in our opinion, one of the best sources because it's not a database, it's live accounts essentially. So you get all of the updates for when people switch companies, and it's the biggest, I believe, as well, since there's over 500 million users. So yeah, you use that as the base, and then you export using Wizza. And then after you click run the scan, it'll queue up and start running. Typically, we expect about 5 minutes for every 100 leads. So like this one, I started before last weekend and left it running, and then came back on Monday morning and started using it. Do you have any questions so far?
If I just wanted to like find someone's contact info for a single person, could I do that, or do I have to do this every time?
No, you can do it for a single person. So to do that, you go to their profile and click Get Email with Wizza. That's available on, so we have 3 different plans. We have Pay As You Go, which is just pay per email. Get Email with Wizza on individual profiles is available on our monthly plans. We have a couple different levels of those. So you just get email, and it would show up right here, and then also be added to your contacts on Wizza.
Gotcha. And do you guys also provide phone numbers or no?
We don't yet, but the update that our engineers are working on right now will start including phone numbers as well, and social profiles and personal emails if they're available.
Gotcha. So for now, I would just need to have both seamless in you guys.
If you wanted phone numbers, yeah, if you wanted to reach out. But this should be coming, I think in June. This is the priority next push. So in June, it should be ready to go.
No worries, man. Just write it in the contract. You know how it is.
Yeah, sure. Totally know how it is. Been doing this more than 6 months. Okay, so then once you have it in Wizza, you have your leads, which are listed as people. And then it's broken down by the leads that we weren't able to find an email for, ones that were risky, so emails that we found but weren't able to validate, and then valid emails, which we were able to verify and have at least 99% deliverability. So once you have them in Wizza, you have a couple different options. You can download them as a CSV, any one of these lists, either the entire list, and if you download the whole list, it'll include the emails as well, so all 3 of these lists, or just the valid or risky or no email lists. And then you can view it as a CSV. I don't have Excel installed on this computer, so it's not going to show up if I open it. But it's your typical, there's 7 or 8 columns with first name, last name, full name, email, account, URL, all of that. But then your other option for viewing is in contacts. You can, let me scroll over so you can't see it. You can view all of your contacts here as well with their email addresses, account, title, all the information you have in the CSV. Yeah, so that's the whole process. And then if you want to start integrating it with, you said you use HubSpot, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we have 3 different integrations at this point with Outreach, HubSpot, and Salesforce. So to sync it with Salesforce as a contact, you would just click save here. You would need to do it individually, right? But if you want to connect it with HubSpot, just all of these leads, whatever CRM you set it up with, you can just click sync to the right of the valid, or both valid and risky, and it'll open up the integration window and start pushing it over to HubSpot for you. And then you can start using it in your outbound and all of your outreach emails, yeah. So any questions on all of that so far?
No, I'd asked any questions I'd had, and I think it seems pretty clear.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, so you had mentioned at the beginning that you're using not Zoom Info, you're using Seamless, right? And that you're running into some bounces. So what we wanted to set out to do is offer a way to price things so that you're only paying for emails that are actually going to be delivered. So we only charge for the emails that have this valid check mark, which means it's going to be delivered 99% of the time. I mean, sometimes it still runs into issues, but that's 1% bounce instead of multiples of that. And so the risky emails that show up here, you get those for free, and we see deliverability for those is still around 40 to 60%, so you can still fold those into your campaigns at a lower ratio if you'd like. And then obviously all of the leads that we scrape from or pull from SalesNav for you, you get for free as well.
Cool.
And then the last is kind of secondary. I mean, I know you have something set up already, but we also have a mail merge system essentially for cold emails. So you can just pull all the contacts within Wizza into your new campaign and set up the sequence pretty easily here. And add as many steps as you'd like, and review, and then start running it. So right now I have, for example, 200 emails running a day. And this will show my open rate, click rate, replied. And as you can see, the bounce is right around 1%.
So you can manage campaigns right from Wizza?
Yeah, yeah,
That's
you can
cool.
push it right into this. And you can, so it's $25 a month for the Connect campaigns per email account. You can connect as many email accounts as you'd like with G Drive or not G Drive, sorry, G Suite or Gmail.
That's awesome. That's the coolest thing I've seen so far, man. You should lead with that.
The campaign. Okay, good to know. Glad to hear it. So actually, I'm curious on that. If I can ask, I mean, either what was your name? Not Tabitha.
It's Tawny.
Tawny. They're going to ask you, Tawny. What about?
We can call you Tabitha though, if you want.
Oh yeah, you got a Tabitha on the call. That's right.
Tabitha's my middle name.
Okay, Tawny Tabitha then.
Yep.
I'm curious, what about this sticks out to you particularly compared to what you're using now for your cold emails?
Yeah, because we don't have a way to really run campaigns anymore. We used to run it out of Outreach, and then we ended up nixing that and just sticking to SalesLoft, which we don't use to run any campaigns. It's just like on a per SDR or per AE basis. So we don't have a way to like do mass emails and run campaigns like this. And I really like the look of your dashboard. It's just really clean. It almost looks like gamified in a way, and it's just very clear. So that's why it stood out to me.
Oh, great. Thanks for the feedback. That's good to hear. Yeah, right now it's essentially in beta. We have, I believe, 100 users on it now. So we're trying to figure out next steps to kind of push this up. So glad to hear it.
101 now, right?
101? Oh, yeah.
I would be the 101.
Good, I'm glad. Yeah, I mean, that's basically all I have for you. I mean, you could see, I mean, if you're running into bounce issues with Seamless, then maybe you could try out a trial account. And with the campaigns, you could test that as well, of pulling your list, the searches from SalesNav, and then immediately pushing them into your outbound campaigns.
Awesome.
So what do you say? You want me to introduce you to our head of sales? He can set you up with a contract if you'd like.
Your head of sales is going to give me a contract? Man, that's some high touch.
And Finn.
All right, Patrick, you get to go from Tawny.
Ready, stop for me. I don't know how to close it.
From Tawny to Patrick.
That was awesome.
That was awesome. I just want to defer the feedback. I don't want to be the person giving it right now because I was just, in Tawny mode so hard and I was like super into it. And I was trying to get you to close me. But yeah, man, I really like your product and that was a great job. I'm going to defer to probably like Justin and the Harmony gang for feedback.
All right, Justin.
Can I just start off by beatboxing? I put some Tawny Katane facts into the chat here, which is very noteworthy. I'm an 80s fanatic. I love Van Halen, so I know a lot about Katane and Valerie Bertinelli, who married Van Halen. I missed a generation. I wanted to be part of metal and to be in high school in 1984. But unfortunately, I was in high school in 1994. As far as a pitch, I think it's great. I mean, I'm passionate about this area. I think one thing you could have asked is, what is your current semi-automation? Like, are you using Outreach or SalesLoft or Groove, or what does it need to import it to? And then there's more validity on whether the internal campaign manager that you showed with the G Suite would matter. Because if he's already stood up on another sequencer, he's probably going to want to import. I'm kind of feature heavy on my feedback because this is like my total passion and what my book is about. So you couldn't have picked a better 5onFriday for me to come in. I thought, the tone was good and matter of fact, not too salesy. You kept just eliminating obstacles. Patrick's like, what if I could do this, or could I do that? And it was like utility. There were wow factors. I would say you want to have like 2, 3, 4, 5 wow moments where there's some, piece of the UI UX where someone goes, oh, makes it so easy for me. So he was pretty blown away that you could do campaign management in that, which is great. So I would just say, like, tie that to sending the proposal. As far as like no pain, no sale, it might've been helpful to say, well, like, what are your challenges with prospecting? What's painful about the systems you're using? What are your expansions as a team? I just think a more like open pain and fear and implication, like spin type stuff could be helpful, because it's sort of like a wow widget feature conversation at the moment, but you might want to then anchor that around some deeper problem. Like, hey, I got to figure my leads out because the bounce rate, like, he is having bad air data. So that is a pain. So maybe just double clicking on that. Well, what if you could improve that? Which is opportunistic. Or like, hey, is that really limiting you? Or I know it's probably not a heavy lift. I'm also just curious about differentiators. Go ahead. Sorry, I think there's a delay.
That's okay. You said you're curious about the differentiators?
Yeah, just because people are typically buying from Seamless.ai and from LeadIQ and ZoomInfo is the heavy, bought all the competitors. And I'm curious, is like price performance, if your commercials are better. I've seen some providers now where they have 95% data accuracy. I've seen, sequencer plus data. It's such a crowded space that you're in. You may actually not be able to differentiate it with features. It's actually your ability to peel back the onion on the pain so that you really take pole position because of the way you sold this thing. That's my best feedback.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I'd say for differentiators, depending on the competitor, it's either price, because we're way more affordable than something like ZoomInfo, or the pain point of getting bounced emails. Since we only charge for the valid emails that get 99% deliverability.
That is a huge differentiator, because in the other systems you have to pay for that. I guess for me, when I'm batch sending campaigns really quickly, I just kind of want to run on what's valid. So I think it was pretty cool. In 5 minutes, you can suck out about 100 leads on Navigator. Do a lot of your customers run this straight to G Suite, or are they porting it into Outreach and SalesLoft?
Most are porting it into either Outreach or Salesforce.
Okay, yeah.
A handful that are doing the campaigns.
I just think if you can develop pain more in the front, it'll create momentum. Like if I were actually just selling it, any frustration around prospecting, lead flow, the data accuracy issue, ease of use. Because I'll tell you, with LeadIQ, I have to hover over with my LeadIQ panel, go row by row, then I have to run an individual verification, then I have to take everything to Gmail, then I have to hit it on hunter.io, then I have to export to a CSV, then I have to realign the header rows, then I have to match the formats so that I have the headers aligned between my CSV and Excel and my formatting in the back end of Outreach, then I have to map it, then I have to load it in. So it is a multi-hour process for me to build a cadence in SalesLoft Outreach. It's really, really painful. And I'm seeing this direction go where the data is living in the sequencer. So if you can really highlight that pain and you can pull down efficiency for power users, I think, like, for me, that's why I would want this product.
Got it. Focus on the efficiency.
Yeah, just streamlining the pains right now in how other systems upload. Either like someone uploads it and there's a bunch of errors, or That's super painful, ton of bounces. How do you fix that? I don't know if showing that internal campaign running thing is really relevant if you've already pinpointed that they're using sales after outreach. So I think that would be the pre-step. And then just taking a little longer to say, well, what have you tried before? Who else are you talking to? Are you testing us alongside others? And then just this straight up anchor, like budget, timeline, compelling event, success criteria, still running that. Like, are you the single decision maker on it? Why are you talking to me right now? Is there something coming up next quarter, some target? If you were to plug this in, what would make it successful for you? So this is sort of a band and a medic flavor of qualification. I'm huge on doing that no matter what it is. It's just like the compelling event, compelling reason, like why you and why now, why are we talking today? This is what I got. I want to move on to other feedback, but I think I hit all the points.
Lisa,
thanks.
Love to hear your perspective.
Justin, you literally hit all the points.
Yeah, that was great feedback from Justin. I'm going to extend a little bit on the pain points portion of it to dig a little bit into buyer enablement as well. So from a pain point perspective, I think that it's important for you to understand what is kind of typically happening that is driving, that's driving the purchase of your product whenever possible, so that you can at least backstop yourself with most of our clients find, many of our clients are experiencing this, something that allows you to at least backstop the beginning of your conversation to begin to identify and nail down that pain point for the client. It's really important. And I like, from a research perspective, I like to come into a conversation with an organization really understanding the things that are going to help them. Let's make the assumption that you knock it out of the park and they want to pursue the purchase of your product. You need to make sure that you're not only getting that person that you demoed on board, but you're also arming them with the languaging that will help them to make that sale internally as well. Because most of the time, we're not necessarily with the only decision maker when you're doing a demonstration of your product. So, being able to tie it back to, say, for example, I'm looking at whatever the summary is of a latest earnings call or something like that, or if even just digging through LinkedIn profiles and seeing something that's been posted that would, you think, play to the key strengths of your product, make sure that you make that tie for your buyer so that they're able to leverage that through the buying process, because we have to enable them and helping to get the deal closed on the inside as much as you do getting them onboarded to the idea of purchasing your product.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. Tabitha, who's going to be the bad cop? I'm waiting for a bad cop.
Me too.
Yeah, that's funny. That probably won't be me, guys. You picked the wrong person for bad cop. But yeah, I mean, they've had such great points. I love what, I don't know if you saw what Alex had said earlier, or was it?
In the chat.
Yeah, hang on. Alex, what did you say? Where is it?
Was it about dancing around the
Just dancing around the problem? Yeah, I think you never really got to a problem. I'll give feedback too. I'd love to talk to you, but you can go ahead. But,
well, I'll just say a couple brief things because I don't want to repeat. Justin just spoke another language and my mind just blew up. So I need to recover from that a little bit. But yeah, like Lisa was saying, you need to make that decision maker look good, right? So like you were saying, really enable them to go back equipped with all of the information and the pain and making them live in that pain for a moment, like Alex was saying, and that was where I was going to go with it, was like, what happens if you don't change that? What happens if you don't do this? What happens if you stay with Seamless, and how much time are you wasting, or how much time could you save if you had these other the other features that you were talking about? And then like he had really pinpoint some of the things that were going to be really important to him. And just, again, like living there for a little bit more, letting him feel the pain, and then also letting him feel the outcome of what, you can provide with your software. So those would be some of the things that, I would add to that. But it did feel very, very human.
kind of silly, but so what would that look like to make them feel that pain a little bit more instead of just being like, yeah, seamless, that takes a lot of bounces, painful. Like how do you reflect that, like as you're responding to their pain point?
Well, like ask him more questions, you know what I mean? So go off of, like, in the beginning, I feel like you kind of like ask a question, but then he didn't have a chance to answer before you kind of went into the next thing. And I'm guilty of that too. But really like asking the question and even just using silence or like some type of a pause to really like let him or whoever the person is, let them reflect on, you know, what's to come. And also like setting expectations up front. You know, you sort of start off like why we're here, and then he's like, well, actually, I don't remember why we're here. Which, hey, that definitely can happen. But even like, obviously, we don't have the backstory here necessarily, but setting that agenda sort of before the call and like making sure if there's anything they want to hear or cover in the call, so you can sort of start there, but also starting with whatever packs the most punch. So like some other people here were saying about the campaign, you know, that being like a really big feature. And I'll be honest, I'm not familiar with, I don't use Seamless or anything like that. So I don't know all the differences, but really just focusing on what people the other feedback you're getting and where people are saying you've got that strong, you know, the strong captivating information, and going there and making sure, I don't think you talked over people's heads or anything, or like with technology, because sometimes that happens, and just knowing your audience, you know, but otherwise I think you did a good job hitting a lot of important points, but just tying it back to like what he doesn't like, finding out what he doesn't like about Seamless, and then tying it back to how your solution would fix that.
Right. Just sitting in a little bit more instead of it just being like a checkbox to get through.
Right. Not just like, what's the question? Okay, you answered it. Now I didn't even really listen, and I'm just like moving on to the next feature. But actually, what does that mean to you? Like, what would that mean to you to have a campaign or a dashboard like this, and be able to run the campaign here, you know, and really just like letting him talk. Because the more you get him to talk, the more information you're going to ultimately uncover, and then continue to loop it back and connect the dots. So you're, you know, making it make sense for him.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Amy, are you going to be the bad cop?
I was going to.
Oh, well, hold on. Amy's going to jump in, and then go ahead, Alex, after her.
Okay, go ahead.
It is Friday, so I'll keep it as nice as I can. No, so first off, I would go back to the drawing board and organize how you want the flow of the discovery call to happen. So one of the things that I would suggest is right up front, because I think you're a little bit more marketing minded and maybe not as heavy on the sales side. So that's not your comfort zone, which is fine, because that can actually be really compelling if you're coming from, you know, into the sales realm from an outsider's perspective. But you really want to set the tone for the call early. Why are you calling, or why are you there? Why are you having this conversation? And what's the expected outcome at the end of it? Because I feel like there was a disconnect between the start of the call, the flow of it, and then the close at the end. And the close is really hard if you don't set it up at the beginning very well. So go into that call saying, you know, today I just want to understand a little bit more about your current process. You know, what tools are you using? And really understand if this is something that we can work with you on. If there's even problems that we can solve for you, because maybe there's not, and maybe it makes sense at the end of this call that we just part friends. But at the end of the call, are you comfortable, you know, telling me no if this isn't a solution that you'd want to move forward with? And are you comfortable if I tell you no, I don't think we can actually help solve the problems that you're currently having? It's setting the tone immediately and giving them the clear expectation that you want to answer a yes or a no, we're moving forward at the very beginning of the call. And it also lets them know that it gives them the comfort of having that out, right? So they know right up front, they can tell you, yeah, I don't think this is going to be a good fit. And when people feel that tension is removed from them, they're going to talk a little bit more. They're going to be a little bit more forthcoming because the pressure's off, right? Then, you know, everyone's talked about the pain. I think go back to the drawing board, and what I would do is I would map out every single one of your competitors, what you've heard on the market, are problems that exist within those competitors, what pains you know your customers are experiencing when they use them, all of the gaps that exist that you guys plug, because that's a huge differentiator right there. That's a huge selling feature, because they may just bring you in just to fill a gap that exists in their current tooling, you know? And then also write down all of the problems that you solve just across the board. And then pull out some of those compelling stories or problems and create a story around it. I wouldn't say lie about it, but if you know a customer that has had a specific pain that you've been able to solve, that's a use case. Use it. That helps sell your product. And then if you don't really have a lot of compelling stories, that because you're a fairly young company, come up with some. You know, create a story surrounding a specific pain point and a problem that you can solve, and use that throughout your call, because I feel like Patrick seemed to love and was like, you know, he was throwing you a lot of bones. He seemed to love the solution, which is great, because you're going to have people on the calls that are going to love the solution. Then you're going to have people on the calls that have tool fatigue. Oh, we already got 5 tools. Oh, we don't need another tool. I mean, you're going to get far more objections than Patrick gave you. He was playing softball with you. So you got to be ready for those. And that takes mapping. Plan it all out, right? Every objection, every pain, every problem, how you solve it, get all of your ducks in a row first. Then you can bring all of that to any call and know, okay, all right, they're talking about seamless. All right, I know these problems are probably going to exist. This is how we answer that. And I would say nail your sales nav stats. Like at the beginning, you were talking a little bit about Sales Navigator and had some stats that you were kind of throwing out there. Nail those with confidence. Any stats you throw out there, be confident in them. Like make sure you're staying up to date on that crap. Because if you're kind of like, well, I think Sales Navigator has this feature, I think that the limit is this, that conveys a lower level of confidence. So just be confident in whatever facts you're throwing out there in stats, regardless of whether they were like from 10 years ago. Just be confident in it, because that gets the person on the other end of the call the confidence that whatever you're trying to sell them is something they need to be buying. So those are just some points that I'd make.
Okay.
See, it wouldn't be bad, right?
Oh my God.
They're great.
Oh my goodness. That was so good. I don't know how I can follow that.
Mic drop. I could drop my mug.
Drop the mug, Amy. Go ahead. Bring your daughter in to drop the mic for you. I want to see her. First off, I don't want to feed a shit sandwich. You know what that is, right? Like a compliment, a negative, and then compliment. So it's all from a good place, and I want you to succeed. And this is just my opinion. This is just bias. So first off, I think, like Amy said, it was you can get to customers to realize they have a problem when you really dive deep. Like the first person, I forget who, like Justin was saying, when you actually like walk me through your process with, bouncing emails. Like how does that look? Like what are you using? Like get real detailed and try to like get him to like be like, oh shit, that's costing us a lot of money. So like maybe you could have asked like, okay, like, how many emails do you send out on a monthly basis? How much do you spend per email? What's your conversion rate? What are your goals like? Are you meeting your goals? How far are you away? If he's meeting his goals at like 100%, he's meeting his goals right now, but he's at a shitty bounce rate, and you can improve that by X, and he does, like, have him do the math, like thinking like you did like they call it, this is kind of gap selly or whatever, the book, but you kind of self-diagnosed for him. Like, oh, okay. He gave you a huge bone, was like, yeah, like we have a huge bounce rate. You were like, oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So we help with that. And then it went right quick to showing another feature. So like stay in there and just like have him, figure out what's the impact of that bounce rate to him. Like, you talked to, like, you got him to give you a couple problems, which was awesome. And that's where you could have like stayed. But like the impact is going to be the urgency for him to want to like go with you now. Like, oh shit, we can't like stay. Like the hardest thing we all sell against is status quo. He may just go, we like seamless. We're making our goals. It's all good. But we never really knew what his goals were, how far he was away, you know, how much it was costing him, none of that stuff. But if you ask questions around that, and then he's like, yeah, shit, we're spending this much per lead, we're away by this much, it's costing us this. Damn, we're spending tens of thousands of dollars a month, and I didn't realize that. And you're telling me your thing is only what, you know, a $3 grand or $5, whatever it is, and shit, I would be saving money if I went with you. Yeah, you know, so try to find that oh shit moment, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So that's, you know, I hope that was maybe a little bit helpful, but yeah, really good job. I think it's a great product, man. You saw it at the end. You said, I wish you would have shown that in the beginning. Like, you know, lead with like what you know is like the best problem that you can solve. Like Amy said, I didn't understand like with the main problem you solve. There's probably a bunch of problems you solve, but if you lead with like the one that's going to hurt them the most, the rest is just, you're off to the races, because they, you know, yeah, it's like gravy.
Okay, yeah, good to know.
Christine and then Philip, got any words of wisdom for this fellow?
That you did great, and everybody's feedback was awesome. The only thing I was gonna say is, I think one of the things, like when we're at the beginning of a conversation, I love the setting expectations feedback. That's awesome. Yeah, if all goes well, then what's our next step? Like setting that up is, if we all agree that this is good, then we're gonna be doing this. Does that sound good to you? You know, getting that agreement, like I am really defined about, I'm not doing this dog and pony unless we've got an agreement. So I'm pretty specific with that, very nicely, of course, but right up front. The other thing that I think is super important is a lot of times we qualify and we talk about fit. This is going to fit. This is going to work. And the one thing that we miss is energy. The deal's not going anywhere if there's no energy. And so it's like, why are we, you know, what's causing us to talk? And it's like this problem. It's like, why now though? Like, why? What did that come up in your prioritization? Like, what happened in the business? Like, what specifically is going on? Because if I don't know that, I can't use it. Number one, I'm not creating urgency, and I need some sizzle there. Like, who's pissed right now? Who's like on the hot seat because something's not going right? I want to get that guy involved. I want to get her in this conversation. And if this is my like champion, like, give me the dirt. What's happening? Because if there's nothing right now, then I'm not doing this demo.
Yeah.
Like, if this is just I'm probably not. Like, I'm gonna dig in until I figure it out. But that's just something that I see over and over and over, is like, we get excited, we hear buy-in signals, we hear that there is a problem, there's some causal questioning there, all of those different things, but I'm looking for the energy. Like, why right now, and dig in deep. So that's the only other bit, because I thought everybody had such amazing feedback.
Thanks, Christine.
Philip, that's a tough one. You better have something more than Christine's dirt. That was good.
Yeah, really good job in general. I actually use Visa every day, and I love the product. Also, I sell Visa to my customers, so I've done a lot of demos of Visa myself. So this has been pretty interesting. Look, what I think, there's not much to add. My notes are, I think you have to master your demos. I think it was very unstructured, to be honest. You know, schedule a demo with Vidyard guys. These guys do amazing demos. They have all the tabs open. Everything is working. Like, you cannot do things like, you know, imagine now you have an Excel. Like, if you talk about the outcome, like, show the outcome. Don't make them imagine anything, because, you know, this doesn't give confidence. Definitely big time on upfront contract, or however you want to call it. Like, structure the call. I think the call was just, you know, jumping around, and Patrick was very nice to you. Like, you will find very few people that nice. What else? Yeah, just add more structure, prepare the demo. And I think the big thing that Amy mentioned is, you know, write down all the objections and practice them, role play them with your friends, you know, their colleagues. I think you have to be ready for answering, you know, all the questions and all the doubts, and definitely big time, you know, ask more questions at the beginning, get more context, make them feel the pain. So I think it was all already there. So that's my feedback. Happy to connect. I have a big connection with Guatemala, so let's connect later.
Oh, great. I think I actually just connected with you on LinkedIn this week, because you're a Wizard user.
Yeah, exactly.
Galem or Kris or
Hi,
Steven? Oh,
everyone.
Galem, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I have one piece of feedback. Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be here today. Just give me 1 second. I'm just going to allow my sister. All right, well, whatever. She's running the water and stuff. My only feedback, I think I agree with what everyone said up until this point. My only suggestion is, and that's worked pretty well for me in the past after doing John Barrow's training, was that when I wrap up the demo or the discovery call, whatever the case is, and we identified clearly what the pain points are, where the gaps are, how we can help, I would be very clear and upfront with that at the end. And then also say like, hey, I'm going to send you a follow-up email and I'm going to put down all of the things that we discussed today that are your priorities and how we can help you. And then the only thing I'm asking for you is to just to reconfirm with me that you're good to move forward. And that's been working really well when I speak with them, because then they're like, yeah, of course, no problem, I can do that. And almost always do they get back to me and reply to that email and say, yep, you covered everything, this is perfect, thanks for the summary. And then from there on, like if they ever try to ghost me, they can't do it, because I always come back and I'm like, listen, you agreed when we talked to these things, and you also replied to my email saying that you agreed to it. So, you know, are there any questions that you have right now? Is there anything else I can answer for you? Do we need other people involved to answer more questions, whatever it is? And usually I just call them up and do that, or send them a video or whatever. And that's been working pretty well. So that's the only suggestion that I have, in addition to what everyone else already mentioned. And I would, you know, one, I think it's awesome that you're in marketing and you're caring about these things, because I don't know a lot of people in marketing that I work with that would ever think about things from a sales perspective, or even care about how am I going to present this as a salesperson, right, and sell to their pain points. So I think that's awesome, and also super excited that you're in Guatemala. I was just there in March volunteering.
Oh, wow. Right before it all shut down. Good timing.
Yeah, perfect timing. So yeah, that's it from me.
Awesome. Kris, anything from you, bud?
Can you hear me?
You betcha.
Yeah, so part of the problem was I came in late, so I really apologize for that. So it's not really fair. I did say just 2 comments, and forgive me if you did cover it, but for me, anytime I've been demoed, something that really stands out is when I kind of feel like I've been given the keys to sort of navigate through the product myself. So again, maybe that's how it started, but you know, asking the person on the other side, you know, hey, what can I show you? Like, is there something specific? I'm showing you what I'm used to doing, and maybe a canned response, but like, is there something I can do that's going to really resonate with you? That's one thing. So again, if that's how it started, then that's my bad. The second would be, you know, I know we're always talking about positive momentum and whatnot, but you know, bad news early is good. And so I think Galem was kind of speaking to that about this mutual plan to move forward. But really, the check-ins were great. I thought, you know, I heard it a few times. Pretty basic to do that. Hey, you know, how are you doing with me so far? Are you keeping up? Like those types of things. But if there's an opportunity to, again, just really dig in and not be afraid to ask if there's anything that didn't make sense, and really dig in and uncover any concerns. It didn't seem like it went that deep into that. And I know, again, we want to stay positive, but maybe if there's an opportunity to dig in on something that just didn't, you know, fit right or whatever. Hope that makes sense. But that was it. Great feedback, guys, for everybody else.
Thanks, Kris. Steven, what do you have like another sandwich to offer up here?
Well, I heard you mention that you were actually going to be focusing some of the feedback in terms of sales collateral for the marketing team. So I think one of the first pieces that you should focus on would be the pain. It's actually probably a hidden pain, but it's domain protection. So like you guys focus on validated emails, like you can pull out the risky ones, all that stuff. So a lot of companies, when they're sending cold emails, actually care a lot about protecting their domain from a ton of bounces. So if their email domain gets too many bounces, that also makes it harder for them to send emails to validated emails. So it'll actually start rejecting those things. So just my piece of feedback would be, if you're going to generate a piece of sales collateral around this, I would start with focusing on domain protection as a potential pain point and something that you guys solve.
All right, thanks. Is that because that's mostly a high level concern, so that'd be useful for
it's not just a sales concern. Like that's a company level concern in terms of nobody would be able to send emails, or whether it's marketing, C-level, finance, blah blah blah, because somebody in sales is screwing up and sending a bunch of unvalidated emails and like destroying the domain rating.
Okay. Yeah, it's good to know, because I've mentioned that in some of our content, but it's good to know that it's worth pulling out as a standalone.
Yeah, I would use that as a use case, in my opinion.
Great.
So Brooklyn, we're just coming up to the top of the hour. I'm curious, do you have any questions, I guess, for the group in terms of like how you can take some of this feedback and apply it? And, you know, I know after a lot of these calls, a lot of people have connected one-on-one too, and, you know, we've had like a follow-up, you know, you send us a video pitch. So a lot of us are open to giving you ongoing feedback. Was there anything kind of, you got a ton of feedback, but is there anything where you're going, okay, well, how could I practically apply this?
Yeah, I guess so. In the short term, the idea here is I'd like to develop at least the base level of sales collateral. So, you know, a handful of customer stories, the use cases, you know, not going a full playbook. So I guess because you're mostly all salespeople, what would be the priority? Like, what would you want from somebody who focuses on the content, not even necessarily marketing, but company-wide content? What would you want the first 2 pieces, for example? That would be helpful.
Go ahead, Steven.
For me, as an outbound SDR/sales ops guy, I like to focus on customer testimonials, like how we helped this customer do this. Because ultimately, if you have something targeted towards particular verticals, or you guys have like a tiered list of verticals that you guys want to go after, it makes it easier to relate the messaging that salesperson is going to be using by referencing a customer, how they use the product, and what value that customer got from it.
Like Filip on the call uses the platform every day and then sells it for you. Well, why doesn't he do that for Seamless or Lead IQ? So you have it right there. That's the gold.
Yeah, I mean, what we've had a lot of people do is whatever video platform you want to use, do like a revision of your pitch and send it to some of us, and we can critique it. But you know, like Justin's bang on like that. You got Filip right there is like, you know, he loves the product, so I'm sure he could give you like all the nuggets there.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I would suggest doing, and this is kind of, it's taking it back a little bit, right? Start from the beginning and come up with your little value statement. Like, what is a one sentence that describes what you do and what's the major problem, or a summary of the major problems you solve, and then start there. And then I would be curious to see what your initial kind of call pitch is, or even your kind of your messaging pitch that bleeds into the discovery, right? Because there's probably something that comes before this, you know, question and answer session. I'd be curious to see what that is, because if you have a really strong initial pitch, right, that's really gonna set the tone for these discoveries for you, and it'll help you kind of mold your discovery call too, because I like to tie in that initial pitch in some way at the very beginning of the call. Like, once we set expectations for the call, I'll tie that in, because I know they probably heard something about what we do, and if they haven't, it's there for them again. So, and then you flow into the questions and the kind of the keying in on what pain points are specific to that customer. And then, you know, when you practice building out the pain points, the problems you solve, all of the differentiators, and kind of what you do different from your competitors, on that call, you'll start keying on those. Okay, Seamless AI. Okay, well, we can beat them here, here, and here. And you automatically know how to run those into your call seamlessly. I know that sounds kind of funny. Not to throw your competitors some shade there, but I think that if you go back to kind of the beginning and map it all out, and then like Francois said, record yourself doing the little pitch, right? Just a little 5-second pitch, right? I mean, it shouldn't take long, no more than 30 seconds. And then from there, maybe do a little bit of a discovery and like just at least the initial chunk of it. And then maybe just list out, okay, and these are the pain points I've came up with. These are the problems we solve. And this is how I feel we would differentiate ourselves, and just send it to us. Or we can do, hop on another one of these calls and run through that list with you and help you kind of fine tune the verbiage, because you can even say something sometimes that actually will raise objections later on in the call. So even figuring out how to format, discussing how you solve problems is really smart ahead of these calls. So that would be where I would start, is just map it out. What do you want it to look like from start to finish through this entire process, right?
Awesome. Well, I know we're a few minutes over, and so I appreciate everybody carving out some time to give Brooklyn some feedback. And Brooklyn, kudos to you for putting yourself on the hot seat. So thanks everyone for giving up your time. And I think we all can connect with each other. I sent an email out before just giving some people some background. So thanks everybody for carving out time today.
Thanks everyone. This was super helpful.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, you were awesome, Brooklyn. Thanks.
Good job,
Have a great weekend, guys.
Bye, guys.
Enjoy Guatemala.
Later.
Have a good weekend.
I'll be there soon.